many different forms. And this is explained in the first verse of the Isha Upanishad, where it says, Om Purnam Ada Purnam Adas Purnam Adashyate, that the Lord can expand himself into many complete units, but he still remains complete in himself. So this is called transcendental mathematics. Has anyone heard of this field of mathematics, transcendental mathematics? In transcendental mathematics, 1 plus 1 equals 1. And 1 minus 1 equals 1. Very difficult to understand, especially for the Mayavadis, because they can't understand is expanding himself, but he's still remaining one. Because their understanding is the Lord has manifested himself into everything and then there is nothing left. That he became everything. That he was there somehow without any sentience, just like this impersonal energy, but somehow he decided that he has become bewildered by his own energy, Maya, and then he decided, yes, I want to enjoy in the material world, and therefore he somehow became distributed into the material world, and there's nothing left of him. And that is Mayavad, because he wanted to enjoy his Leela, the Leela of old age, disease and death. Yeah, foolish God. He got it wrong. So this is the idea. It's really not very intelligent idea. So that when you're dealing with Mayavadis, that is the best way to defeat them. Because if we try and explain to them in terms of Shastra, for all of our Shastra, they have their own interpretation of the same Shastra. We have our Bhagavad Gita, they have their Bhagavad Gita, with every verse misinterpreted to justify their thing. But at the end of the day, their philosophy is illogical. It just doesn't make sense. You know, how is it that the impersonal Brahman decided, although he has no sentience, he still decided that he wants to enjoy in the material world where there is no enjoyment, isn't it? By his arrangement, of course. So, a very foolish philosophy. And they try to see consciousness that it is like a material thing, that you can, that there's this big pie of consciousness, and you cut it up into various pieces, and then it gets distributed, and then this pie is finished, and there's nothing left. That's what happened to Krishna, isn't it? Can you cut up consciousness? Can consciousness be cut into pieces? Can you take someone's consciousness, let's cut off a piece there, cut off a piece there? You can't. You cannot. Consciousness is not cleavable, as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. So this is their philosophy, and it is, of course, completely illogical. So there's a story of Giriraj Swami. The devotees were at some public event, and they were distributing books, and he met this and this very enthusiastic young man came out of the crowd, and he was looking at the books, and he said, "Yes, I already have a guru, an Indian guru, and but he is God. My guru is God." So, how do you know that your guru is God? Well, he says he's God. Oh, okay, and how do you believe him? Well, I don't know, I just say, of course, he's my guru, and he says he's God, he's God. So then he said, well, if I say I'm the President of the United States, are you going to believe me? He said, yes, okay, I'll believe you. He said, well, okay, then I'm the President. And as the President, I'm ordering you to give me your wallet. So he didn't want to admit he was defeated, so he pulled out his wallet, gave him his wallet, and then Giriraj said, oh, thank you, and disappeared into the crowd with $100. Then later, like 2 hours later, the man manages to find Giraj Maharaj, and says, "So please, I need my that was my wages for the week. I just need some money for rent. Please give me my money back." So he had to return his money. So this is the foolishness of their philosophy. He even explained to Prabhupada and said, "Yes." Prabhupada said, "Yes, you said he is God." So he said, "Yes, I'm God. Now give me your wallet. If it's all one, there's no difference between your wallet and my wallet. So you can give it to me." So this is the idea. And there's another story that Radhanath Maharaj explains. He was preaching to one student about Mayavad, and he was insisting, "No, we are all gods," and like that. So, so then it was going on, and then the student said, "Oh, I think I need to go to the bathroom." So then Maharaj indicated to his disciples that he must block the door of the bathroom. So then he couldn't get into the bathroom, and he's complaining, "Why are you blocking the door?" But he said, "You are God. So how is it that you are now a servant of your desire to go to the bathroom? Can't you simply transcend it? God doesn't need to go to the bathroom." So then he had to admit, he is not God. So that is their foolishness. And this philosophy, we see it in the West. It's not quite in the same exact form, but they call it, in the West, they call it pantheism. So pantheism, if you can imagine it, it's like you have God and you have the creation, and then they are like one, because they say, "Oh, God is the creation." This is like sometimes that people say, "Oh, Einstein believed in God," but his idea of God was that God is the laws of material nature. So they try to redefine the word God to make it sound like they are very good people. Even Elon Musk, he has these kind of conservative views, and he appeared in this Christian kind of podcast thing, and he was saying, "Yes, I believe in God, the God of Einstein, the God of Spinoza, whatever, the God of the universe. That the universe is God." So that is one manifestation of Mayavad in the West. So they have these different ways of presenting. So the one is pantheism, as I said, and then you have dualism. So dualism, like Ramanujacharya, all is two. There's God, and then there's the creation, the living entities. There are two. There's no difference. And then I discovered there's another word. It's called panentheism. Anyone heard of this word, panentheism? So panentheism, it's like you have God, and then within God is the creation and the living entities. So that is like Chintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, oneness and difference. Panentheism. So if you want to present to a philosopher, what is our philosophy? You can say panentheism. And then we see it in another form they call it the law of attraction. Anyone heard of that? The law of attraction. That if you just think of something enough, if you just meditate on it enough, it's going to manifest. There's this documentary, it is called The Secret, and they talked about the law of attraction. And they even try to make it like really scientific, like there's quantum physics, and in quantum physics they had this experiment called the double slit experiment, and they found that electrons, if no one's observing them, then they have like a wave. They act like a wave. But as soon as you try to observe them, as soon as you try to measure them, then they become a particle. They act like a particle. So from this, they extrapolate that yes, we are God and we can influence matter just by the act of observing. We can influence matter, and there's some truth to it. Obviously, yogis, they can, to a great extent, they can influence matter and transcend the laws of matter. But of course, beyond, what they forget is that beyond our puny little consciousness and its puny little influence on matter is the Supreme Consciousness. And His influence on matter is a lot greater than our influence on matter, isn't it? In fact, all of this matter is simply a dream of Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu is lying on the causal ocean and he's having this dream, and from his pores, all these different universes are manifesting. So it's simply like a dream of Krishna's consciousness. So they forget that our own great desires to manifest our kingdom and great opulences and riches, they are powerless compared to what is our karma. That's from our very birth. Krishna already has decided what is our opulence, what is our quota. Like in the next verse of Isha Upanishad, it talks about one's quota, that we have a certain quota in this world for one little bit of opulence we can aspire for in this world. But still, they like to pretend that they are God. Very foolish idea. Like I met this one Mayavadi, and he was saying, he was trying to explain that, Mayavada is so nice because you don't have to be an eternal servant. Can you imagine that? Being an eternal servant, how terrible that must be. It's like being an eternal slave. This is a very terrible idea, isn't it? So that is how the materialist thinks, that this to be God, or that we are all God, this is like such a much better idea than to be a servant. But I said, but you're still a servant. You're a servant to your pride, isn't it? The aversion to be a servant. And what is love at the end of the day? Love is service. And this is why these philosophies of like atheism or Sunyavad, Mayavad, they're very depressing philosophies at the end of the day. Because for there to be love, there has to be two. There can't be love if there's just one. One is boring. Even Prabhupada explains, even if the impersonalists do manage to merge into the impersonal Brahman, they cannot stay there. Why? Because it's very boring. It's very boring there. Even they themselves, their belief is that God got bored, isn't it? God is sitting there in the impersonal Brahman, is very boring. That's why He came and distributed Himself, so that He can enjoy. So even God Himself thinks it's very boring in the impersonal Brahman. What to speak of the living entities? They try to merge into the impersonal Brahman, but they cannot stay there. They're very boring. So in India, of course, we have Sankaracharya, who created this philosophy as incarnation of Lord Shiva. Because in India, even when people want to be atheistic, they still like to do it in the religious way, isn't it? This is what Sankaracharya gave India. Of course, everyone before him was Buddhists, but still people want to be religious even if they're atheistic. So Mayavad allows people, they can be atheistic and they can still claim to be a Hindu and follow the Vedas. The Mayavadis, they still follow bhakti even. They can still chant, and they can still do all, externally it's all the same things. But what is their idea? The idea is that the deity, that the guru is just like a ladder. They climb up the ladder, and when they realize that they are gods, then they can kick away the ladder. Isn't it? That's the idea. So they just use the guru, they use the deity as a kind of, as a mechanism, as a utility to attain their godhood. Very offensive mentality, but very bewildering also. That if people are not educated, then they will not see a difference. They not see a difference. They're going to the temple, they're trying to, because most people, even most Hindu people, they're not educated, they don't understand even the difference, this philosophy, that philosophy, they're just trying to be religious, and we go to the temple, we worship the god, and whatever that god is, we're not sure, but we go there and we try to worship the god. Because externally, it's all looking the same. But they don't understand what is the goal. What is their goal of their philosophy? It is to become God. To become God. Just like any materialist. What is any materialist? He wants to be the topmost materialist. He wants to be the number one. They want to be the richest, the most powerful. Just like Hiranyakashipu. All the different demons, they want to be the greatest demon and defeat all the other demons. And these are the materialists, and this is essentially their idea, that they want to become God. It's the same as any atheist. The goal is the same. So Prabhupada explained. He gives this heavy purport in the CC. Explaining Hinduism, he says, the analysis by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur supporting the statement of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami depicts the position of the present so-called Hindu religion, which being predominantly conducted by Mayavad philosophy, has become a hodgepodge institution of various concocted ideas. Mayavadis greatly fear the Krishna conscious movement and accuse it of spoiling the Hindu religion because it accepts people from all parts of the world and all religious sects and scientifically engages them in Deva Varnashram Dham. As we've explained several times, however, we find no such word as Hindu in the Vedic literature. The word most probably came from Afghanistan, a predominantly Muslim country, and originally referred to a pass in Afghanistan known as Hindu Kush, which is still a part of the trade route between India and various Muslim countries. Although posing as great scholars, ascetics, householders, and swamis, the so-called followers of the Hindu religion are all useless, dried-up branches of the Vedic religion. They are impotent. They cannot do anything to spread the Vedic culture for the benefit of human society. The essence of Vedic culture is the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jai, Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga Ki Jai. Lord Chaitanya instructed, Yara Dekha Taraka Krishna Upadesh, Umara Agyana Guru Haya Taradesh. That one should simply instruct everyone he meets regarding the principles of Krishna Katha, as expressed in Bhagavad Gita as it is, and Srimad Bhagavatam. One has no interest in Krishna Katha or the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like a dry, useless wood with no living force. The ISKCON branch, being directly watered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is becoming undoubtedly successful, whereas the disconnected branches of so-called Hindu religion that are envious of ISKCON are drying up and dying. Yeah. So this is this state of Mayavad, that people think, oh, God can be in any form, and therefore it doesn't matter what form you worship. If you want to put a carrot on your altar, that is okay, because God is the carrot to you. All paths are the same. Like Prabhupada gave the example in World War II, one man, he was putting Hitler on his altar because of Hitler, his business was doing well and they were doing a lot of trade, and he thought, oh, this Hitler is a very nice man, let me put Hitler on the altar. And what is wrong with that? God is everywhere, God is everyone. So if you want to worship Hitler, that's also okay. It's all one, isn't it? All paths are the same. Yeah. So this is the influence of this Mayavad. And of course that Mayavad is also, it's within our own minds, within our own consciousness. Because on one level or another, we're all still thinking that I am God, isn't it? We're all thinking that I am the proprietor of everything and I'm the enjoyer. Like that in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 8, on the last paragraph, Prabhupada says, beginning from the practicing humility up to the point of realization of the supreme truth, the absolute personality of Godhead. This process is just like a staircase, beginning from the ground floor and going up to the top floor. Now on the staircase, there are so many people who have reached the first floor, the second floor, or the third floor. But unless one has reached the top floor, which is the understanding of Krishna, he is at a lower stage of knowledge. If anyone wants to compete with God and at the same time make advancement in spiritual knowledge, he will be frustrated. It is clearly stated that without humility, understanding is not truly possible. To think oneself God is most puffed up. Although the living entity has always been kicked by the stringent laws of material nature, he still thinks, I am God, because of ignorance. The beginning of knowledge, therefore, is a mattva, humility. One should be humble and know that he is subordinate to the Supreme Lord. Due to rebellion against the Supreme Lord, one becomes subordinate to material nature. One must know and be convinced of this truth. So that is our problem, that we all have this I am God consciousness instead of God consciousness. This false ego is the most subtle element of material nature. Beyond the mind, beyond the intelligence, is that false ego, this feeling that I'm great, and this kind of real aversion to want to be a servant and to have to bow down to the Lord and bow down to the Lord's devotees and bow down to so many things. But it is a fact that we have to bow down. That if we do not bow down to the Lord, then we have to bow down to lust. We have to bow down to greed. We have to bow down to envy and pride. We're always bowing down. This is our dharma. Prabhupada explains the dharma of water is to be wet, and the dharma of fire is to give heat and light. And what is our dharma? Our dharma is to bow down, to serve. This is our dharma. We cannot escape it. Either we serve Krishna or we serve Maya. But we are always serving. This is the thing. We're always serving. The only problem is when we are serving Maya, are we happy? No. Can the hand be happy serving itself? No. The hand is diseased. The hand will never be happy serving itself. And that is when we're in Maya. We are the hand trying to serve itself. But unless the hand serves the belly, it's not going to be satisfied. We're not connected. We're not working in harmony with nature. We're working against nature. So that is the nature of Maya. That when we try to serve Maya, we just get kicked in the face. So this is the lesson that life is always teaching us. And often it's a lesson we have to learn over and over again, to bow down to Krishna instead of bowing down to Maya. And one devotee asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, we are all devotees, why are you always preaching Mayavad? Like we already know Mayavad. And he said, because you are a Mayavadi, isn't it? So on one level or another, we are all Mayavadis, because the mind is a Mayavadi. And this impersonalism also extends in our dealings with others, isn't it? We tend to deal with people in an impersonal way. Like there's this quote from Radhanath Swami that we should use things to help people and not use people to get things, isn't it? That is, people think that things are the goal of life and they want to use people to get those things. And people have these different kind of mentalities. You know, like if someone is more in a Sudra mentality, then he is wanting to use people for laziness, or he needs partners for intoxication, or he's simply fearful of people. And if one is in a Vaishya mentality, he's wanting, how can I use people to get money? Isn't it so much the thing, yes, you have to go and you have to make connections, and that will get you, from these connections you'll get business opportunities, and like that, thinking in terms of how we can use people to get money, and they're always evaluating, can this person help me to get money, as this person, and we respect people based on how much money they have and how they can help me to get money. That is obviously very common in Kali Yuga society. And then the Kshatriya, we have more of a Kshatriya mentality. We're thinking in terms of followers. How is this person my follower? Or how can I better influence this person, and how can I get him to respect me more, and how can I increase my fame, how can I increase my position, and thinking in terms of politics and trying to use people, how to increase my power and my position and my fame and my status, and like that. So it's more of a Kshatriya mentality. And then the materialistic Brahmana mentality, maybe he's just absorbed in philosophy and is just not interested in people at all, just not interested in relationships, just interested in philosophy, or just interested in defeating people and establishing that I'm the most intelligent person, and trying to show people how intelligent one is and how knowledgeable one is, like that. So this is this kind of impersonal mentality that can come into our dealings and our consciousness. And what is the Vaishnav mentality? For the Vaishnav, everything is about relationships, isn't it? Relationships are the means and relationships are the end. Because when we go to the spiritual world and we're knocking on the gates of Vaikuntha, and we say, oh, I have got this many followers, and I know this much Shastras, and I've done all these austerities. Is all of those things going to get us into the gates of Vaikuntha? They're like, who are you? I don't even know who you are. I'm like, but I'm such and such Das, and I have done all these great things. But they're not going to know who we are. But if you say, I am disciple of, or grand disciple of Srila Prabhupada, oh, Srila Prabhupada, yes, we know who is Srila Prabhupada. Yes, and I've done these things for Srila Prabhupada. And they'll speak to Srila Prabhupada and say, yes, please allow him in. Because in Krishna consciousness, it's not about what you've done, it's about who you've done it for. It's about relationships and who you know. Not what we know. So this is it, that bhakti is all about relationship. For us, love is not a means to attain godhood. Love is the means and love is the end. Our end is to attain loving relationship. In the spiritual world, everything is conscious, everything is a person. This spiritual world, this table is not just a piece of matter that we can just, if I don't like this table, I can just burn it and do whatever I want with this table. It's here for my enjoyment, isn't it? We have this privilege in the material world. We're thinking, this matter, material energy, it is here for my enjoyment. But in the spiritual world, even this table is a person. This table is conscious. Everything is conscious in the spiritual world. Everything is personal. So if we do not know how to deal with persons, we're just not going to fit in. If we're trying because we are the Tatastha Shakti of the Lord. So we came to this material world, why? So we can lord it over the material energy. This Bahiranga Shakti of the Lord. We came here so that we can lord it over, we can enjoy it. But in the spiritual world, there is no material energy for us to enjoy. And even we try to treat others like they are a material energy for our enjoyment. But they're not. They are sentient beings. And they are there for our service. So if we do not have that attitude of service, we're simply not going to fit in the spiritual world. We're just not going to fit in. If we're going there to the spiritual world and we're treating others like they are there for our enjoyment, and how can they help us to enjoy, we're just not going to fit in. Like Prabhupada, like there's a Bengali saying about the deki, that what will the deki do in the heaven? The deki is the wheat thresher. What will it do in heaven? It's going to thresh wheat. It's going to do the same thing. So if we go to the spiritual world in our materialistic consciousness, what are we going to do there? We're going to do the same thing we're doing here, trying to exploit others for our enjoyment. We're just not going to fit in. So we have to change. We have to change and learn how to properly relate with others. Learn how to properly serve others. And that is what is beneficial. So there's this Harvard study they did to try to understand what is it that makes people happy in life. And like they did this survey to college students, and they all asked them, what do you think is going to make them happy? And 83%, what did they all say? Money. Money is is the most important thing for happiness. But this study is started in like 1930 or something. It's like over 80 years old, and they've been continuously studying human happiness. And it started with maybe like 500 or 800 participants, and every 2 years they would have the survey, and they would ask them different questions. Because if you simply rely on people's memories, they can selectively remember things. But every single year, they're systematically studying people, and they had people who are like these kind of Harvard students, so a certain kind of people, and they also had people who are like from the lower kind of classes of Boston or whatever, so all different kinds of people. And what was the first thing that they found was health. So that was expected. Health, most important thing they found for people's happiness. And what was the second thing that they're not expecting was relationships. Relationships was the most important thing that people found for their development, which was something not exactly expected. Even for your health, they found that relationships was the most important thing. That they found like loneliness for your health, it's equivalent of smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, in terms of how it affects one's health. And the second, first thing was that relationships are great for one's health, And the second thing was that about the quality of relationships. Obviously, bad relationships can also be very bad for one's health. So that is what we have to see, how we can improve the quality of our relationships. And when they look back at people about what they were proud of in their life, were they proud of their big achievements? Some of the people had actually achieved. Some of them were presidents, some of them had Nobel Prizes. But the thing that they were most proud of in their life was their relationships and how they had cultivated their relationships, whether it's their family or their spouses, things like that. So we see that even on the mundane platform, the conclusion is the same. Relationships. Like when Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna to not lament, he says that there's no need to lament in the execution of your duties, because the soul is not cut by any weapon. The soul is this. The soul cannot be dried, and this and this. He's giving all these things, and he even explains in terms of atheism that there's no need to lament. He says all created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in the interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what is the need for lamentation? So we see the principles of nature are the same, even for the materialists. Relationships, the most important thing. So the nectar of instruction is giving us some guidance, how we can increase and help our relationships. It says, Dadati pratigrinati guyam akati prichite bhunkti bhojam chaivya. That we should give gifts in charity, receive gifts, that we should reveal our minds in confidence and inquire confidentially, that we should take prasadam and give prasadam. So what are the principles we can take from this? That we should be kind. We should be kind to others. We should give gifts in charity. Not just physical gifts, but we should be kind in our thoughts and kind in our words and also kind in our deeds. And we should reciprocate. Someone is giving us a gift, we should give a gift back. Like our Guru has given us this gift of knowledge, and we should feel grateful and want to reciprocate, that how we can repay this great gift. And then the other thing is inquiring confidentially, that we should be interested in other people's problems, other people's sufferings. Because what did the scientists find? Why does it that relationships help people be healthy? It's because people go through a lot of stress in life. And when they go through a lot of stress, telling people about their problems helps them. Just having someone that you can reveal your mind in confidence helps you to relieve that stress. So we're all going through different sufferings and miseries. We all have our cross to bear in the material world of karmas and things. And we all need someone simply to talk to, and simply to reveal our heart and to say. So we have to be compassionate and be concerned about other people's suffering. Not only concerned about our own suffering, but be concerned about other people's suffering and willing to hear from them how they are, what they are going through, and try to understand them, understand who they are. And that is how we build relationships. Not that we want to hear so that we can be their guru, and just immediately try to give advice, unsolicited advice, but simply to hear as a friend, and simply to be concerned about others and their well-being. So these are basic principles that we have to understand in a deep way, not in just a superficial way. Just like, I'm following rules and regulations and I must give this and do that, but try to understand the principles behind these things, because these are very deep very deep principles. They're not just superficial things that Rupa Goswami is saying. So by practicing these principles, we can develop our relationships and ultimately our relationship with Krishna, and become qualified to relate to all the devotees in the spiritual world, and become qualified to return back to the spiritual world. Jai, thank you very much. Any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. You explained so nicely how we should be personal in our spiritual life. So, and the role of having relationships with devotees. So, in general, what I have observed is that, like you rightly said, the research proves that the second most important thing for any person to be happy is to have healthy relationships. But then in the circle of devotees, we tend to have relationships on a materialistic platform. Like, for example, one who pampers my false ego is my friend. One who doesn't align with that is my enemy. Or
Yes.
we form a group kind of thing. Okay, these all people, they always support me. They say yes to me always, even
Yes.
if I'm wrong, and they don't, raise a question. So these are my friends.
Yes.
And anybody else, they have independently thoughtful, and they are very rational, and they question my actions, speech. Then maybe they are not so much of a friend.
Yes.
So how do we see to it that we have spiritual relationships, not the relationships which actually pamper up my false ego?
Well, I'd say, at least if we can come to the level of material relationships, that's a start. At least if we can, we have to also be natural in Krishna consciousness. We can't be like robots. So naturally, some people are going to be our friends, and naturally some people maybe not. So you're going to click with certain people kind of naturally. We don't have to be artificial. We don't have to try to imitate that I am just full of love for everyone, and because we're not on that platform. At least if we can, people who we naturally click with, we naturally relate to, so that's okay. But the main thing is that if there are people who, for whatever reason, there's not so good relationship, at least on our side, we shouldn't be envious of them. We shouldn't have animosity towards them. So it's not always possible. It's never going to be possible that we are friendly with everyone, or at least that there is friendly relationship. But at least on our own side, we can try and not harbor any negativity on our own side. And if we have an opportunity to be kind to someone who's maybe not so kind to us, we can take that opportunity and try and build that relationship if the opportunity comes. We don't have to be like too much on the mental platform, oh, I have to love everyone and I have to have good relationship with everyone. It's always going to be, Krishna's always going to send some people that just grind you in the wrong way or something like that. So some relationships is not always possible, but we can always on our own side at least try to cultivate the relationship, Yeah, so that's my 2 cents. It's okay. Yes, bro?
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Guruji, generally it's recommended that we should not seek distinction. One thing is prestige, seeking prestige, Another thing is distinction. Only I should have that particular prestige. But here we see that even in so many pastimes of Lord Krishna is kind of giving distinction to the devotees. Like here also, Lord Krishna is going with Srutadev and Bahulaswara and not making other person to know that he is going with him also. Similarly, in the case of queens of Dwarka, other queens were not knowing that Krishna is also present. That particular queen was not knowing that Krishna is also present with other queens.
Yes.
In the same Ras Leela also, one gopi was not knowing that Krishna is present with other gopis also.
Yes.
In that sense, Krishna is giving distinction to devotees. It means it seems that seeking distinction is a natural propensity, and Krishna is also supporting that.
Yes.
So, then how to understand this?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, in the spiritual world, everyone is perfectly satisfied with their relationship with Krishna, even whatever kind of relationship that is, because Krishna is unlimitedly loving, and Krishna unlimitedly makes us feel loved, and makes us feel satisfied, and makes us feel like He is just there for us. And so that is His unlimited opulence. But also in the Ras Leela, when as soon as the gopis became proud, then Krishna disappeared, isn't it? So the devotee, as soon as we become in that kind of maya of thinking that, so you could say, Krishna is somehow supporting the maya, but I guess the devotee's humility is such that he always, that's almost like Krishna's test. Like why is it that when we chant that we just don't feel that ecstasy of the holy name? Because Krishna knows if He gave us that ecstasy, we'd become puffed up, isn't it? He knows we become puffed up and think, wow, look at me, I'm such a great devotee, isn't it? And then we'd not be able to relate to the other devotees. Because even in the spiritual world, is everyone directly serving Krishna? There's Krishna, and then He has Radharani, and then you have His principal gopis, and they have their servants, and they have their servants, and they have their servants. So, in the spiritual world, it's not like everyone is directly relating with Krishna. They're also serving the servants of the servants of the servants of Krishna. So, if Krishna directly reciprocates with us, that is a test of our humility. And that's why He can't always give us the ecstasy of the holy name, because of that pride that is in the heart, that as soon as we get it, the false ego just goes, think, yes, now I am a great devotee. That we want to then compete with Krishna. So, so those seeds of pride, they're very subtle in the heart. And if Krishna gives us some reciprocation, it's a test that we still remain in that consciousness of being a servant. No. But yeah, honestly, I never thought about it in that way. Good question. Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Okay, Granth Raj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.